And admit, admit, admit. Okay, we're starting to come into the creative jungle. I might try one more time. I'm having issues streaming to Facebook, but at least we're recording. And Tamara, I'm going to make you a co-host just in case something else happens and you can control some of the reins here.
Okay.
So, live on Facebook. Anybody have any idea why I would have trouble with live on Facebook today? Maybe I'll try sharing on my timeline. I don't even know what that means. So as we're just settling in, I'm trying one more time to do the live Facebook stream, which I have been having some error issues with. No, so she's not going to be happy with me today. Okay. All right, well, we're going to go ahead and get started because we have a lot of information and just a lot of energy, wonderful energy tonight. And so I'm Ann Marshall, and I'm not the expert in creativity, but we do have an expert on our call with us tonight. So I'm going to introduce Tamara Dorris, and she's the author of more than 20 books that range from well-researched neuroscience and subconscious studies to very witty fiction. And her topics always revolve around the power of the mind and intention. She's a longtime adjunct professor, coach, speaker, and consultant. She holds degrees in psychology and communications and is a certified hypnotherapist. And Tamara's been published in magazines like 17, Weight Watchers, Wall Street Journal, Women's Day, Women's World, and O Magazine. And she's appeared frequently on television and radio and podcasts. And she's spoken internationally on radio and is a keynote speaker and lectures with multiple appearances. So my introduction to Tamara actually happened a couple of years ago when a very small group of colleagues and I were doing a book study around one of her books. And then I picked up this book called Imagine That. And I proceeded to do the 33-day manifesting challenge with this book, Imagine That. And I actually went through it not once, not twice, but 3 times. So I did 99 days consecutive of manifesting my imagination and creativity. And that's where I came up with the vision initially to do a one-woman fabric art show in the year 2025. And I not only share this ideal outcome, as Tamara calls it, with the group last time on Wednesday, but I also have expanded the vision to something much greater than myself and far more globally. So there's been some evolution to my ideal outcome. And just a very brief overview for this group for Tamara is that I wanted to increase my vibrational level at the time when we were really in the midst of chaos and breakdown in our world. And knowing that I had control of my vibrational level, and again, this is something that I got directly from Tamara. So the thought was to create, actually challenge a community to a deeper understanding and accessing the higher vibration that creativity experiences provide. So far, we've explored the creative lifestyle, we've explored getting started, showing up with habits and routines, myths of creativity, process versus result, developing your artistic voice, and overcoming obstacles and saying yes. And tonight, we're talking about imagination. So I would like to just read a quote, and Tamara, then if you want to just pick it up from there, and we'll run with it. How does that sound?
Sounds wonderful.
All right, so this is from Pat Allen, and she wrote a book, Art is a Way of Knowing, and the quote is, "Our imagination is the most important faculty we possess. It can be our greatest resource or our most formidable adversary. It is through our imagination that we discern possibilities and options. Yet imagination is no mere blank slate on which we simply inscribe our will. Rather, imagination is the deepest voice of the soul and can be heard clearly only through cultivation and careful attention. A relationship with our imagination is a relationship with our deepest self. Whether we have cultivated our imagination or not, we each have a lifetime of patterns and habits of thought embedded there based upon experiences. And our experiences of ourselves and the world flow from these patterns." So I thought that might be kind of a nice segue for what you would like to share with us, Tamara.
Well, thank you, Anne, and thank you, ladies, for having me. I love that Anne does these challenges. But I want to correct her when she said she's not an expert in creativity, because I've seen her art and I see what she does here. And I also want to go so far as to say that I'm not an expert. In fact, each of us are experts, because how can anyone be better at imagining than someone else, right? So as Anne said, and thank you for that wonderful introduction. I think that first bio, that was something that must have come from a website or something that I haven't seen in years. So that was a lot. So thank you for that. But what it boils down to is that creativity for me has always been about using my imagination. I mean, so I had written probably, 18 books before I wrote Imagine That. And then one day it came to me, how do I do all of this? People ask me, how do you write so many books? And I'm like, it's my imagination. That anybody can do it, right? And it doesn't matter. And and Anne and I talked before this event. It doesn't matter if your art is, if you have an art, right? If you just want to explore creativity, or maybe you're a painter, or you do fabric art, or you're a writer, or you do poetry, or you sing, or you just want to explore and get deeper in it. The bottom line is that our muse is really just a higher level of our imagination. And when I coach, for business women, my coaching is really about helping women get in touch with that higher self. Because even if you are just exploring creativity for the sake of being better at your business, if you work, or if you're retired, doing things with your family, whatever the case may be, that creativity is really just being in touch with your higher self. And I think most of us live in our heads. Can everyone give me a thumbs up if you've been guilty of living in your heads before? Yeah, especially as women, because we have all this pressure put on us to look like this and to do this and whatnot. And so just the idea of being creative and sinking into our higher self and just listening to that voice. Maybe it's to write a poem, maybe it's to write a letter, whatever it is just tapping into it. And so to me, I always say that I believe the best gift that God gave us is our imagination. We spend so much time in school teaching our kids all the bad stuff that happened before, but what about all the amazing things that can happen with imagination? And so the main point that I would like to leave you with in this discussion, and I'll take questions, is how friendly are you with your muse? How open are you to your muse? Because we say, I want to do this creative thing, but if we don't stop and listen and let that small silent voice come through to us, then we're not listening to our muse. We're trying to take charge of it, and that's, I think, really, really hard for a lot of us. Does that make sense?
go.
Any questions?
I know one of the things that you talk about is the fact that we have like 65 to 75,000 thoughts a
Yes.
day. And where are those thoughts focusing on? I mean, so many of them, so much of it is actually subconscious, and
Yeah.
that's
Yeah.
using our imagination. But the problem is that it's probably using the imagination the
Yeah.
wrong way.
So yeah, that's an excellent idea to talk about. So if you think about it, let's just say you want to go paint a picture, and your brain is just, you're stressed out and your brain is full of cortisol, and you go to paint something, you're not going to be in what's called flow. And for anyone who's in anything, whether it's sports or any kind of creative endeavor, we know what flow is, right? It's where, oh my gosh, it's that late because we just got taken away by what we're doing. What Anne alluded to with the thoughts is that the human brain, we have, especially as Americans, we have 65 to 75,000 thoughts a day. And of those, about 90% of them are unconscious. They're beneath our level of awareness. So we don't even know we're having them. Just think about all the thoughts you have in any given day. Like if we pick on ourselves, like, oh my gosh, I can't believe these pants don't fit anymore. No, I forgot to do that. Or, oh, what was I thinking? We beat up on ourselves consciously, plenty. So just imagine if 90% of your thoughts are unconscious, how badly we could be beating up on ourselves, or worried about the future, regretting the past, whatever it is. So those thoughts are basically silencing your muse, right? So all those thoughts. So what we have to do again is we have to get into that flow. And I think where most people, I have clients who say, I just am not creative. I'm just not creative. In fact, I told a couple people about this challenge and said, join this group, because that's what she's talking about. But creativity is not a gift given to the few. It's a gift that we each possess and have a right to, but we have to quiet our mind enough to let it come in. Does that make sense? Okay, anything else you can think of, Anne?
Does somebody else have a question before I ask another question?
Yes.
I want to know, when you have a muse and it's silent, how, I know myself, I pray that I have guides that give it to me in 3 different ways, so I can at least catch the synchronicity once, at least.
I love that.
But how can you tune in to hear them tell you, do this, to listen to yourself?
Absolutely. And so I love the idea that you ask, and I love the idea that you give your guides 3 different ways. That's awesome. And that is exactly what I do. I will ask a question, or I will ask for guidance, or I will say, give me a sign. In fact, in that book that Anne held up, one of the 30-day 3 challenges is to ask for a sign from the universe. Something that the universe is telling you that you wouldn't see any other way, whether it's a purple feather or a blue duck or whatever. And then just to be aware. So I guess my answer is you're doing it exactly correctly, but then the challenge is in just really being super aware, because our guides, our muse doesn't talk to us by knocking on the door and going, hey, you in there? You hearing me? Can you hear me? It's not like that. It's a very subtle, almost energetic, it's like a whisper, and we're not going to hear anything like that. We're going to see signs, we're going to get feelings. Our energy body works on emotion, so we're going to get feelings. You all know what I mean when we get a feeling like that's a good person, that maybe is not someone I want to hang out with. It's just following our feelings. And I think you have a really good hold on it. And I think it's just being more aware. Does that help?
Yes, thank you.
Oh, good.
And I know one of the things you said in the book, Tamara, is that when you're in a high vibrational state, that's the best time to imagine.
That's it. Well, and you can use your imagination to get in a high vibrational state. So it's not about, oh, I've got to get my vibes high and be really, really vibrating up here to make my dreams come true, or to get a download of creativity. It's about closing your eyes and getting silent and imagining as if you already had whatever it is you want, whether it's, you know, a new house or a new idea for a book or a new idea for painting. And once you are settled down and you imagine that you already have that, then it's going to make you excited, right? Because if you already had it, you would be excited. Every single one of my books I downloaded this way. Literally, when I sit down to type a book, it's already in here. I've already downloaded it. Whether it was on a walk, during yoga, driving somewhere, it already just comes to me, and then I just sit down at the typewriter and do the thing. So yeah, I think that's exactly right, Anne.
And I love too that an important distinction of what you talk about is when you can have this image or see this or the feeling to really focus in on the excitement of the feeling or of that image or of what the vision is. That's a very important part of it, is to experience the feelings as if it's already happened. So that's kind of part of the formula, as if I can call it a formula, as well as to always come to that with a feeling of an expression of gratitude.
Absolutely. And I would, you know, and I don't know, I never like had lunch with Mahatma Gandhi, but I would guess that every great visionary, every great inventor, every great artist, architect, you know, writer, used this imaginative skill and this feeling of seeing the end result. Even if they didn't tell us or vocalize it that way, I believe that that's what they did, but it just came so natural to them. They didn't think to say like, oh, Da Vinci didn't just think to say, oh, I saw the Sistine Chapel. And, you know, I think it was, did he do that, or was that Michelangelo? I think it was Michelangelo.
Yeah.
Anyway, they have this vision of the end result, and you know, that's the whole idea. And the great news, what Anne alluded to at the beginning of this call, is that we can use that not just to manifest creativity, but to manifest the conditions about creativity. Like, for example, you know, Anne, it's not just that she uses it for her next vision of her next piece, but also now she's got this vision of doing the one-woman show, or however that's expanded. So you can use your creativity. If you're creating crafts and you plan to sell them, include that in your imagination. Just allow your imagination to encompass it all. And the reason is so simple, that our subconscious mind, when we're imagining in a restful state, does not know the difference between what's real and imagined. And if we train our brain and let it know, this is what I'm creating, this is what I'm doing, it's going to say, okay, and it's going to start showing you things in your life that lead you to that end. It's going to give you talents that you might not otherwise have had as sharply. So using your imagination in that way is just super beneficial for everything, creating anything in your life.
So what you just said there is really like the gold nugget. And there's not a lot of context for that, but Tamara's done decades of research on the neuroscience behind this. And it goes beyond that law of attraction that we might have heard of, but really kind of having the, you know, the universe respond to us, because we are as much of a creator as the universe is, and the source that's providing us that. So it's a matter of really accessing into it, and it comes from what you're bringing from that imagination, and again, those feelings, so that on that vibrational level, you're attracting exactly what it is that you want or that you're focusing on. So much of us focusing, I mean, I worry and fear is my downline pattern, and I can get plenty of worry and fear validation. So that's why I have to really focus at changing that to something higher and better for our broader cast as well. But I think I don't want to skip over how essential that point is about you know, you put it out there and you create it, you make it happen. And since we have that power, how are we using our own power? And we tend to really not even think about that, or diminish it and ruminate on all the stuff that gets us nowhere, just gets us more of the same nothingness. You know, I don't know if that's a very good
Yeah, no,
expression.
I think that's really well said, Anne. And I also think that that kind of addresses what Laura asked, because when you put it out there, what the universe is going to, the universe will meet you halfway. This is not just universe talk, law of attraction talk. This is quantum physics. This is science. And when you put the energy out there and you let the universe know this is what I want, and you hold a high frequency to match that thing, you're going to get answers. They're going to come to you. And again, it won't be like, hey, this is the universe talking to you. It's going to be like a phone call that you didn't expect. It's going to be, you win something, or you hear something on a song. So the universe speaks back to us, but it does it in its own language, which is through our own awareness. So I think that was really well said.
So in the chat, I just put some links there. So the top first one is a link for the pyramids that that Tamara does, that are absolutely beautiful. I don't even know how to describe them, but they're, I mean, I don't know why I don't have one right here. I'm gonna have to make a point of it, but they're beautiful, and they're all custom made. These very energetic pyramids made out of gemstones and
Hold on, you keep talking and I'll go grab one and show you. I didn't know you were going to bring that up.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, I think they're pretty cool. And then also a link to her nonfiction books and fiction books, as well as to a Facebook page that she has called Intention Academy. And so if you're ever feeling in a down spot, every day she's posting something that's very positive, that's reinforcing this whole idea of that you create your reality, you create your future. And that's why this is such a great, this is a big discussion, that we create our future. So, I want to have a big future. So I'm up for it. And there's and it's going to require my attention and focus. So let's see one of those pyramids.
Okay.
Where is that, Anne? Oh, that's beautiful.
Oh, that's beautiful. Yes.
So they're resin, and I use, a lot of them I use quartz crystal. And if you're familiar with orgone energy, which again is a science, basically the copper and the crystal, it activates it. And this one has a little cross on the bottom because it's for someone who asked for it. But there's energy. It's not just like a pretty paperweight. Again, I won't bore you with the science, but there's a lot of science behind it. And so when I make each one, as Anne said, I pray, or I send intentions through it, and I may do a little of my tuning fork to it. So I really get in touch with the energy of each person that I make it for. I can say each woman, because it's only women tend to order them, but I really get into your energy and ask, what is it that you would like help with in your life and support? And so I love to do it. It's not a profitable business at all. I just love to make them, and I just cover my costs, but it's just something that I really enjoy doing. So thank you for bringing that up. That was awesome.
And then you also mentioned the music, because we had a little bit of a dialogue about music and what kind of frequency, or with lyrics, or whatever. Is it left brain or is it right brain? And then I know you posted some music, and I have to retrieve it and put it into our post, but can you just talk about that a little bit?
Sure. So what you're talking about, the stuff I just put in our Facebook group?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so that was like for our private group, because I can't share that outside, because that would be copyright violation. But anybody here can go onto YouTube, and you can do searches for things like brain entrainment meditations, binaural meditations, just do deep meditations. And I also really focus on brain waves. So theta brain waves and alpha brain waves, really good when you want to get into the creative flow. Just go on YouTube and look up theta or alpha meditations, and just find what feels right to you, what puts you in the flow, and you will be amazed at how your brain, the left to right hemispheres, start to work as a whole brain. And that's the problem, the challenge that left brain people have with creativity. I have people like engineers and accountants who say to me, I'm not creative. And I'm like, yes, you are. But because you're very left brain, you have to introduce your right hemisphere into the action. And let me tell you, once you get that whole brain thinking, then you can just create masterpieces. Even again, if it's not specifically art. So whole brain thinking, music is really important. Thanks for bringing that up, Anne.
Yeah. Any burning question for Tamara? I mean, we have such a gold mine here with us today, and so generous of you to spend some time with us.
Oh, you're more than welcome. I hear my grandson screaming out in the backyard, so I'm gonna have to go in a minute. I told my husband, I'm just gonna go talk to Anne and her friends for just like 15 minutes. I'll be back.
Well, so what you might do if you come up with other questions, go to the Facebook page and put them in there and see what kind of response you get to that fielding a question that way. Would that be
Oh, absolutely. And did you invite them? Did you put the link on there so that they wanted Intention Academy, the free group?
Yes, the link is on there.
Because I just thought of this also, is Monday we're starting the 33-day challenge that Anne's talking about. So we're going to start it, and it's just for self accountability, but to have support. So if anyone's interested, and I will actually copy the PDF of that portion of the book, so nobody has to go buy the book if they want to participate.
Wow, what a great offer.
Yeah, wow.
It's such a concrete 33-day plan, and it doesn't take a lot of time, but it definitely forwarded me on a path of just claiming the fact that I can create my future. Yeah. Tamara, thank you so much. I know you got to go, and then let's just finish up with the group here.
Okay, thank you, ladies. Thank you for having me.
Thank you.
I appreciate it.
What a
Bye-bye. Have
Yeah.
fun.
Yeah. So what kind of caught your attention about that discussion? It was brief and fleeting, but there was a lot of meat in there to some degree. Does anybody have any thoughts about that?
Well, I'm gonna say it again because I say it every single time. It's that being quiet. Because, I've been talking about that thing, and again, she said it, I don't know how many times she said the word, you have to be quiet to let it in. And so I think that sometimes we're moving at lightning speed. And again, that just resonates with me that I need to, do some downtime, be quiet, and I'll hear more. Like she said, it's not like a voice. It could be a voice, but I think if you're going all the time, you don't give the opportunity. So that really resonated with me again.
Mm-hmm. Anybody on the call have had any experience with the meta creation that she refers to in her books? Just wondering if anybody on the call had that direct experience.
I missed the first part of it. What was her meta creation? What was?
Well, she really talks about it in her books, but in particular, this book, Imagine That. I just know a couple people might be a little familiar with her, so I just thought I would ask that question. Because the meta creation is like meditating, but visualizing the future as if you're watching your movie on the screen and living that picture. So it's not like a subjective or objective kind of thing where you're watching it, but you're actually living in it. So, so when I imagine this, this 2025 show, I have a red silk kimono Chinese gown with a neck like this, and I'm a little bit thinner, but I feel really good. I've got a small pump. It's down to my like ankle length. I have the most beautiful coral and diamond ring on this finger. That's what it starts with, and then I've got it down to everything about it. And as soon as I put that ring on my finger, I am just transcended in my when I put the ring on in my mind, I'm transcended into that state of total excitement, total success, total validation. I look over at my husband and we kind of give each other this little wink, and he's so proud of me. And it just lights me up when I think about it. So it's beyond just the vision, but really feeling the feelings and being very grateful. You know, I'm hugging, I see Shelley, I see you walking into the room. She's coming from California to my show. Nancy, you're going to have to show up too. You know, so it's just, that's how much of a detail it is. So that's what the meta creation is. And so it's a very specific technique that is in this book and part of the challenge. And then she also talks about in the book, like other ways to increase that frequency, because you want to hold that vision for at least 16 seconds. And again, this comes from the quantum physics and the neuroscience research that has been done. You know, in 10 years, you know, this will be old hat information, but right now it's kind of evolving probably pretty rapidly, but it's still it's not out in mainstream yet. But laughter is another very quick way to elevate that vibration. So, you know, bringing that vibration around to a level that you want to attract more of, rather than, you know, the doom and gloom that's so prevalent and throughout the world. Playing the inspiring music, watching videos of puppies, babies, or kittens. Those are always instant frequency raisers. Water, drinking water, swimming in water, soaking in water. Sunshine, dancing and singing loudly or badly, doesn't matter, but those are ways to increase the frequency. And then she also says, if your desire isn't something that totally turns you on, you're not going to have the fire that's required to gas up that imagination and make it real. So, you know, whatever you're, you know, whatever it is, just make sure that it's something that's not wishy-washy. You're not iffy about it. It's a solid, yeah, you know, that's where you are. Imagination with intensity. Any comments before we sign off? I just want to make sure that I'm not leaving you with something left unsaid.
I didn't see on the chat where you gave the reference for that stuff.
Oh,
Yeah,
Might
I
not
don't,
push the send. Or you did it in Facebook and not.
no, I did it here. I'll see if I can copy and do it again.
yeah, I was going to say the same thing. I don't see a reference.
Okay.
Yeah.
Cool. And so, yeah, that, do you have it now?
Yes.
Yes.
So, check out that, you know, that 33-day challenge. I think that could be a, you know, a really fun place if you want to explore more, especially the first couple of days, like it's early on in the days where you come up with that meta creation, you know, that's the vision that calls up the rest of everything else. It's like that vision is like the end result of everything else going for you in the manner in which you desire. So, you know, my vision of that show is simply the fact that, you know, I have the time and the energy to be able to create. You know, my work is going well enough that I have the resources to be able to do what I want to do. You know, my family is all good, and I'm sharing it with the world. I'm in shape. Oh my goodness, that's a good one. So that's like day 5 or 6 or 7 where you create a vision for that. And, you know, here's a quote from Pablo Picasso that everything you imagine is real. Everything you imagine is real. That's totally cool.
Mhm. It's pretty cool.
You better start imagining good things then.
Yes.
They're already here. We just have to acknowledge it.
You know, from reading Tamara's books and following her for as many years, I'm reminded, and I wish I could remember who said it, but I'm constantly reminded that some very well-known person in history said, if we only knew the power of our words, we'd be very careful about what we thought or let out of our mouths. And, you know, the concept of imagination, 90% of people only imagine what they can put into words. Most people aren't imagining things that they couldn't describe. And so I just want to share this with people. Some people have a hard time seeing the pictures. Okay. So like when someone says to me, close your eyes and imagine that and the other thing, I see flashes of light. Sometimes I'll hear what I'm supposed to be imagining, but I can describe it in my brain, even if I don't see it with my inner eye, and embrace that, because no matter how I would put it in quotes, no matter how you see your imagination, what you imagine is real.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's beautifully put. And that's exactly what I put in the description to my quilt that was came about, and it was called The River of Thought, and it sold at a show. It wasn't even for sale, but somebody had to have it. But that's exactly the description that was on that quilt. So I love those words. And that person, that was kind of obscure to me. I can't remember her name, but I love exactly what you said there. Words are so important, how to select them, and to never think a negative thought again, because what am I casting out there, like with a fishing pole, with a negative thought, versus I can cast out the same pole with a positive thought. You know, what do I want, the good fish or the bad fish to come back? It's up to me. I've got that choice. There's a lot of power in that. I love that. And what else did I want to say? God, it was just so rich with what you said there, Shelley. I think we'll sign off there. Oh yeah, I just want to say, yeah, over the next couple of days, look for the synchronicity. Just, kind of put it out there. Show me something. Give me a sign, whether it's a word or an image or a thought or a person. Just I'm ready to receive something and see what shows up. Oh, that's exciting.
It's like a present's coming.
Yes.
So I Googled it, if anyone wants to hear. The person that said it was, the person's name was Peace Pilgrim.
Yeah.
If you realized how powerful your thoughts are, you would never think a negative thought.
Yeah. Very, very poignant. That's a beautiful place to leave us, Shelley. Thank you so much. Have a wonderful weekend. Check out any of those sites that are interesting, and see you on Monday.
Monday.
Bye.